Hey everybody, I'm Jay Jones,
And I'm LT.
and we are the Dose Offensive Gentlemen. Now let's talk about some shit.
And, and we're back. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dose Offensive Gentlemen. And
Yeah.
hasn't been too long. See, we actually got this one within a lot of time.
Yeah, within like the week, right?
Yeah.
From recording the last one. Man, life gets in the way, man.
It does.
You got shit to do.
That's true.
You got shit to do.
And got more of it coming up. But
you have no idea. You do have an idea, but yeah.
Yeah. But so back here at the DOG, and it's a nice sunny day. We should be outside playing or riding motorcycles or skinny dipping.
Playing in the street.
That's something we could be doing.
You know,
Yeah.
old school play basketball or even tackle football in the street.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
No, so I've done that.
Oh, of course.
This isn't like a sarcastic.
Yeah.
Like, no, we've done that. Like,
yeah, that's what you do. That's
yeah. See, that really incentivized not getting tackled.
Yeah.
It's gonna fucking hurt. The landing hurts worse than the tackle.
Shoot, that's straight up street ball. But anyway,
Yeah.
so drink wise, what we got for you today is actually one of my favorites. It is actually my favorite rum. So going a little different today. No scotch as usual, but we are going with a rum. So the rum we're going to have today is Jamaican's Wray and Nephew's white overproof rum. So
you just brought this over and showed it to me, and I was like, man, this looks like the most simplistic bottling and labeling. Like, I'm surprised like they just didn't write a Sharpie on it. You know.
Rum XXX.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like but no, it's good. Like, I do like it. We'll taste some more later.
Yeah.
But going into the history of it, which we brought up on Wiki Lpedia, the history of J. Wray and Nephew began in 1825 when company founder John Wray opened the Shakespeare Tavern in Kingston, Jamaica. Kingston grew steadily and eventually became Jamaica's capital in 1877, and the Shakespeare Tavern became highly successful. In 1860, Wray brought in Charles James Ward, the son of his brother, to run the business side of the company. Ward was a dynamic and gifted entrepreneur, and under the leadership of J. Wray and under the leadership of J. Wray and Nephew, see they threw in the title there, began a period of growth and prosperity. Wray retired in 1862 and died in 1870, leaving Ward as the sole proprietor of the business. Ward developed his heritage, a tavern and liquor dealing concern, into one of Jamaica's largest commercial enterprises and a company that enjoyed international success. At the International Exhibition held in London in 1862, now we're getting into some history, right?
Mm-hmm.
J. Wray and Nephew won 3 gold medals for its 10, 15, and 25-year rums. The company's rums also won several awards and prizes at international exhibitions in Paris, 1878, Amsterdam, 1883, New Orleans, 1885, and Jamaica, 1891. So, like, that's a pretty pretty substantial rum, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so with this distillery, I mean, so the rum we're about to drink is their flagship rum. This is the rum that they produce, but they actually own other distilleries and rum brands as well. Another famous one is Appleton's. Appleton's rum is owned by the same company, but they're distilled at 2 different places, and it's actually a dark spice rum. So.
This is not a spice rum at all.
No,
we'll go on and taste it, but
yeah, it's not a spice rum. It's just straight rum. So, like, with all alcohol, you get color from the barrels that you age them in. This rum is not put in a barrel, so that's why it's clear.
So that's what gives it the color. There's no additional coloring. It's just straight from the wood.
From the wood.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so, like, rum barrels, in the Caribbean, rum was a very big commodity at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You had ships that used to run rum, and it was a part of, like daily rations and stuff like that, and things of that nature. And it was, always taken on long sea voyages. So obviously, that's why the Caribbean is you find different. I mean, like every Caribbean island out there has not only do they have rum, but they drink rum, but a lot of their signature drinks are revolved around rum.
Oh, I can see that definitely. I've seen Pirates of the Caribbean. Definitely. Well, that's like the history of the Caribbean. Right
yeah,
there, right?
yeah,
That's yeah. Johnny Depp running around on the beach looking like a pansy. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but so I was introduced to this rum, and one of the so what happened was I was there, and one of my or I'm sorry, my wife's uncle was like, the women we were visiting, and all the women in one place chatting away, and there's only two men, so he was like, "Hey, come here, nephew. We want to go downstairs." And so we went down into his little den. He handed me a bottle, put on some old school reggae, and we just sat down there and drank. And I got tore up. But the amazing thing I like this, and I've never had a problem. I've never had a hangover in this rum.
Really?
I've gotten like really, really drunk and woke up the next day and been like, "All right,
I'm good.
Cool. I'm good."
See, I've really only experienced that with like high level alcohols, like top tier, top shelf alcohols. They don't leave me as hungover and things, but it's still really good as far as taste and quality and everything. But yeah, that's how I judge an alcohol or a drink is by how hungover I get later. If I feel like crap for like 2 days, I'm never drinking it again. I've had too many experiences on like Jack, on Jack and Coke and stuff like that. Like, nope, I can't smell it without gagging now. But no, this is good. So before we get into the tasting of it, according to the masterofmalt.com, the nose is fruity, notes of molasses and spice. The palate is fruity and a little spirity. There are notes of banana and you're gonna have to help me out with this word. Demerara. Yeah, it's Demerara. I'm probably gonna just butcher
Demerara.
that. Right?
Yeah.
But it looks like some Greek goddess name or something when I read it. So anyway, but banana and demerara, as well as spice and a little oak. The finish is long and spiced. So with that, we have the toast.
Well, we're just gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna go down there. So y'all pick your glass up, and we're just gonna cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's good stuff. That's good stuff right there.
Yeah, I definitely taste the fruity and the spice to it. It's almost a little coconut-y, is that right? Like a little coconut?
I can see that. Yeah.
Like a little, that'd probably just be part of the fruit. But how are we drinking right now? We don't have the metal cubes right now, so we actually had ice cubes in it that have melted completely. So it's a little bit watered down. So it's not quite straight rum, but I had maybe 2 ice cubes, something like that.
Yep.
So nice and watered down, a little bit chilled. We can drink it straight without, making a crazy face, but it's good. I like it. A lot of times you said that they make cocktails with this. Like, is there
so
any
this is a
signature?
very, very well. Jamaican rum punch is the most.
What's in that?
It's usually like a fruit punch or something like that with rum in it. And then fruit and stuff like that.
Is that like the jungle juice kind of thing? You know how you kind of chop up, like similar. You put like a juice and then you chop up fruits and stuff and you just let it marinate in there?
Let it marinate in there.
Okay.
And fruit juices, and that's very common. And Wray and Nephews are used for that for that. Plus rum and cokes, obviously. But usually at rum bars, there are rum bars all over Jamaica, and it could be from like literally a shack. Like someone put up some freaking driftwood and there's a rum bar. But most of the time, people drink it straight.
That's just like with a lot of liquors. With liquors, unless it's specifically designed to be a cocktail ingredient or like specifically made to be mixed with something, I prefer to drink it straight. unless like for old fashions are like a perfect example, right? Because I really like to drink, say Maker's Mark or Knob Creek as straight, but I also really like it in a cocktail. But
yeah. Well, so like with this one too. Oh, and how can I forget this? She's gonna be mad at me. So, in rum cake, this is used. The
rum cake.
Yeah, rum cake. So rum cake, this is used to soak the cake in it, and I think it always gives it a good flavor. My mother-in-law's rum cakes will last until the apocalypse.
Because all the alcohol preserves it.
Yeah. So she usually has it. She puts it in one of those cookie tins, those big round blue cookie tins.
Yep.
She usually makes it in that, and then she goes and she like every day for about a week straight, just pours a bottle, let it absorb, pours a bottle, let it absorb, and so on.
Oh my goodness.
So she gave one to us one time, and she also made our wedding cake like this. And so our wedding cake was a rum cake, but she gave us one time, and we put it on the refrigerator and forgot about it. Years later, we come back to it thinking, and I was like, man, about to open up a science experiment.
Yeah.
And opened up it, and it was like still good.
Pristine.
Yeah.
Did you try it?
Oh yeah, we ate it.
Oh my goodness.
It was like, oh my god, it's still good. So,
I mean, that's what alcohol is, though. It lasts forever.
It preserved the hell out of that cake.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you ate a mummy cake, is what you did.
Pretty much. But yeah, so use it a lot. People like will soak cherries and stuff like that. So when they're also making like Christmas cakes and other pastries, it's very common to see a jar or something in someone's house with like fruit and just rum in it soaking. So yeah, very versatile rum, very good tasting, and this is when I do get a chance to get a bottle of it. They usually don't last long.
No, I can imagine.
All right.
Yeah, but this has got me feeling like all like we should have like some
Buffalo Soldier.
Exactly. We should have some Marley playing in the background. But no, this it's good, and I think this is one of the first times that I haven't had a spiced rum, because that like the Captain Morgan spiced rum or things like that with that aftertaste and that the very noticeable spices, like the high level.
Yeah.
That's what I'm used to. But this is good. This is like smooth. This almost, and you're probably going to be mad at me, but this kind of reminds me of ouzo. Like
Really?
the taste of ouzo. A little bit, like without the licorice flavor.
I can see that a little bit. I can see that a
Yeah,
little bit.
you'd probably be mad at me because that's just completely fucking up geography.
That
It's
is-
not the same, man. It's not the
It's
same.
not the-
But damn it, that's what I think, okay?
No, but it's it's really clean, smooth.
It
it's
is,
good
really.
for like and then like to drink it iced,
Mhm.
really chilled, and like for hot days like today.
Yeah, and that's interesting because a lot of hot days, I don't want to drink anything but like water,
Yeah,
right? But this, I could see drinking on a
You
hot
could do
day because it feels almost refreshing.
it does. It's
Yeah.
very nice.
So, I know we talked about what we're going to do on this podcast today, and so this is a topic that hits home for me. I know it hits home a little bit for you too, because
You more
the
than-
nerd flag runs high.
Yep.
The Solo movie flop. Bang.
So I saw. Unfortunately, I saw Solo. Now I'm going to say this. As a movie, and to give it all fairness, the problem with Solo it's painfully mediocre. It's not good. It's not terrible.
Is it like the Spaceballs of the Star Wars universe right now?
Without
the
Spaceball's a better movie.
Oh my god, Spaceballs is a great movie, but it's like the
way better.
knockoff, Star
Right.
Wars.
But so there's so many things, and there are going to be some small spoilers in here, just to highlight how just painful. Like, and there's just it's a heist movie, all right. So it's a Star Wars heist movie.
Okay.
and which should come off pretty good, right? You know, Han meeting, you know, Lando and
Yeah.
other things.
I mean,
that
that's
they're
whole.
pulling
I
off.
mean, it's like his origin story, right?
It is his. Oh God! So we're gonna go to. So
Here we go. So real quick before we get really dig into it, I have not seen Solo yet.
and you should.
But with that being said, I kind of with the way the Star Wars franchise has been going, I don't really have a I don't really have a need or desire to really see it. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I'll wait to bootleg that thing, man. Like, I don't even want to pay for it. It's one of those where it's like, you know, we went through The Force Awakens. I thought it was an okay movie. Still left a lot of things unexplained and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, I'll give you, you got more movies coming later, so I'll give you some leeway on that. Then The Last Jedi came out, and that just didn't make any fucking sense.
Well,
and
no.
then-
In between there, you had Rogue One.
Well, okay, I want to talk about Rogue One because that's one of my favorite non
Main
Skywalker
trilogy,
lineage movie. Like, I think that's, to be honest, I don't want to say the perfect Star Wars movie, but I think that movie exemplifies what a movie about the Star Wars universe can be, right? Because it's an entire universe. If you want to look at all the EU and you want to look at all the additional now non-canon elements in there's so many stories that you can tell,
Yeah.
like of certain characters, of in between certain events, things like that. But that had nothing to do with a Skywalker, except for the very end when Leia came on. But it had all the elements that I would look for in a movie, and I was excited to see it, even though I knew how it ended. It was kind of one of those.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing. Like, and the thing I liked about the Rogue One is that we knew it was bad. We knew what was going on, but you hope, like when you know the ending of a movie,
Yeah.
and you're just hoping, like, there's got to be changes.
Yeah.
There's got to be changes.
But to be honest, like, I like that they kept it because then it
Yes.
actually fit
it makes
into
sense. Yeah.
the historic movies that were already set. So I thought that was fantastic. Not only that, but like not being afraid to kill off characters.
Oh,
I mean, they weren't the iconic ones, but
they
they were
characters. They killed off the cast.
Yeah, the cast, the entire thing. Yeah. No, that's absolutely true.
Everybody died.
Everybody would not. Yeah, Akbar did not die.
Until,
It's a trap.
Until later.
But yeah.
Off screen.
Off screen. Damn it. But going back to Solo, I have no desire to it, man. Like I haven't been awed. I haven't been like I mean, this could be marketing, but even the casting piece of it, like I wasn't really enjoying, like, this is
the Donald Glover as Lando was
that's
actually,
probably the best one.
That was the best.
I was going to ask
he
about
was
that.
pretty much the best aspect of the movie.
You know what pissed me off about that though? So Lando, all through my childhood watching these movies, going Billy D. Ray, womanizer, 100%. He was a playboy. He was absolutely a playboy.
Yes.
And then now with like the LGBT, movements, and everyone has to be represented and stuff like that, we're gonna say that he is pansexual.
And it's like, you out your
What the fuck
goddamn
does that
mind.
even mean? Like, I don't know what that means. Does that mean? Wait, I have a question, because this came up in like other interviews that I read, and like, okay, so he's pansexual in this movie. And,
well, they don't
then,
they don't really say anything like that. The only thing,
no, but what the writers did,
the writers did afterwards,
and then I guess God, I just blanked on his name. What is the actor's name? Donald Glover.
Yeah.
So he and then apparently he was trying to like support that ideology or that idea, and like, oh yeah, he's like, so what do you think about the reporter was like, what do you think about Lando being pansexual? And he's just like, there's just too many things in space to fuck. I was like, that's a fucking Lando thing to say.
Yeah,
that is. But at the same time, I'm just like, but why do you have to change what's already there? And I think that's the big problem with like what I see a lot of this going on. See, I'm not trying to segue and sidetrack too much, but like I feel like why not just create awesome new characters with their own individuality instead of changing pre-established ones, which is an ongoing thing that I hate.
Representation, man.
No, that's fine. You want to represent, like you know what's a good, you know what's a great show for that? What's a great show for representation is Sense8 on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Like if anybody's seen that, I recommend it because I thought it was an interesting and really interesting idea. But it's got like ethnicities. The rum is talking right now. It's got ethnics from all around the world, literally all around the world. You're talking like Chicago, Iceland, India, Germany, Mexico, everywhere, and then in Asia, and they're all racially and LGBTE diverse and everything. But it's just I don't know. Like I would rather see something like that where you start from scratch and build this awesome thing.
Well, some people come with the idea they don't like that because they'll say, like, for instance, they'll point to, let's say, like, take comics for instance, right? They'll try to push this, character, new imaging of a character, and and they wanted to represent it. So it's like, so again, America Chavez is a prime example of this, right? American Chavez was introduced, and she was a little side character, and it wasn't bad, she comes from this dimension that's all women. She has 2 moms and all that, and she's a lesbian and all this other stuff, right? And then she gets her own book.
I have a question. If it's all
they don't
all
think
women,
they don't think that.
Are you still lesbian? Like you don't have any other options.
Well, true, but they don't think that far ahead because when they
didn't mean to sidetrack.
They there was a clip I saw on YouTube that was just hilarious about it, and he's like, these why I'm speaking of he's like these you want these same-sex marriages, he said, but in these utopias, like, everyone is same-sex and all that, and he's like, yeah, so that's just gonna be one generation. And they're like, what? He's like, yeah, there's he's like, unless there's a man and woman coming together, there's that generation is not gonna carry on. That right. Race is gonna get wiped out. Right. And the guy one of the other guys got mad, and he's like, not everybody came from a man and a woman. And I'm like,
you obviously have not taken biology.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you're an idiot. Yeah. No. Anyway, let's get back to
Solo. So Solo. So what were your big gripes about Solo?
So one was his name. That was one of the big, like.
Oh, please tell me it's not something stupid. Please tell me.
Yeah. It's stupid. So Han signs up he's going to sign up for the Empire, right? He's going to sign up for the Empire. So they asked him his name. He's like, well, it's Han. And he's like, last name? And he was like, basically, he was like, well, I don't have a last name. I don't have any people. I'm kind of alone. And they're like, oh, so you're solo.
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing.
Yeah,
it's kind of disappointing.
That was like that shouldn't have been. Whoever wrote that needed to be shot.
Yeah,
that shouldn't have been in there. And then you had the droid, which was pretty much one of the worst parts of the movie. Was this feminist droid walking around called L337, which is supposed to spell leet, right? So they're trying to
that's gamer speak for leet.
Yeah, gamers, guys, do. These fucking fake geek girls and shit. And I have a problem with fake geek girls or these fake, sci-fi SJW types.
Like I better be able to quiz you on some shit, and you better get it right.
But like, so when you have actual fans and like girls who are part of the fandom, they are fans of the fandom. Like they're,
just like anybody else.
Yeah, they act like anyone else. But these fake ones, they always try to sit there and they want to put these things that just show you their geek cred, like how hoo. And by the way, we're gonna have a droid run around talking about she wants equality and all this stuff, and it's just retarded. It's just like,
so please, and again, I haven't seen the movie, but please tell me that like the droid was not literally asking for like equality.
Yes, not literally. That was like a line. What do you want? Equality. It's like, That was yes.
So let's get this straight. Equality between men and women already exists. Now we're talking about a location that's millions of years, or not, in a galaxy far, far away. In the past, or whatever else you want to say. But it obviously in Hollywood it's going to be a reflection of now. So why are they making a droid? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like one, droids can't have genders.
Apparently, well,
I mean,
which was also a funny take I took on this, right? So, what gender is R2D2?
I would say that that it's a man or
Probably the same
of a male genderish. Right. Like obviously he's well. See, that's the thing. It's a fucking trap that they try to get you with grammar, is because I would say that it's a he. Same thing with C-3PO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have like a male. Well, C-3PO specifically looks more masculine than feminine, right? He doesn't have mounds for boobs on his chest. But then for R2D2, you don't have that. Like, he's an astromech droid. He doesn't look anything humanoid or anything like that. But I would still say he's a he because of his relationship with Luke Skywalker is almost a best friend type.
Right.
But relationship. But also when you refer to them as, like, this is the grammar getting you, when they refer to the droids as a he, generally they use it as like the what was it called, the neutral term, right? Mm-hmm. Just to say like this or whatever, like unless it is explicitly female, then that's when you would use she.
Right.
Everything else is he.
It defaults to he.
Yeah. And that's the same way in several languages.
It's so sexist.
Anyway. But I mean that's one that's a trap, like in grammar, that they try to get you with. But I mean, but it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But so even with a droid, it is literally nothing but computer parts.
Yeah. But so with C-3PO, even though we consider him looking mannish, it's more that it has a humanoid figure, right? No real representation, like overt representation of it being a man,
right,
or a male.
And he actually has a personality instead of just a programming, right?
Yeah. And then R2D2 is a trash can. BB-8 is a ball, right. So, but they had to make sure that we knew that L337 was female, and they even pull up a picture.
L337. L.
I haven't seen L3.
No. Star Wars. Yeah. Images. That doesn't look anything female.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Except for the hip.
The hip. Well, hold on,
They made the hips like pretty wide.
But like I don't.
But you.
So are those birthing hips?
Right.
Like what are you trying to explain there? Because like this looks like this looks, and in all honesty. This looks like if you took R2D2's head, the part that swivels, and put it on top of, like, a skeleton. But it doesn't look anything female-ish or anything like that. It's probably just has a more female voice, I imagine.
Well, it has a female voice, but it had it made it the wide hips and then made it like C-3PO. We would say it was a dude or a coward and stuff like that, but it wasn't. There was no, how can you say,
like it wasn't forced. There was just like that's what it is.
It's just that what it was. Like with this, it was like you had to know that
Yeah. Well, I think that's just
L337
I think that's just a reflection of the
female,
current. I think that's just a reflection of the current bullshit climate we're going through right now. Everything has to have a label.
And she woke as hell, man. She's the wokest droid ever. That was
if she speaks 6 million languages, I'd be impressed.
That was actually part of a article.
That she's woke?
That she's the wokest droid ever. And I was like, fuck out of here.
Again, man, it's people that are looking to establish an agenda or some kind of validation of a propaganda. Something, like, hey, this validates my argument that, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, but it's a fucking movie about a galaxy far, far away. Like, one, do you think they would even have the same problems as now? No. I don't think so. I mean, and so what's interesting is people talk about Star Wars recently on on, I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast. They were talking about how they used Star Trek and I think Star Wars a little bit as a an example of the removal of racism. And Joe Rogan said, "Well, I could. Well, no. If they keep this up, like racism could be, the thing in the past in like 40, 50 years." I was like, "Nope,
Yeah.
nope." I was like, and that's the thing is like racism will always be around,
Yeah.
always, as long as there are different people and there are
Different
different
people.
tribes and there are and as long as we're not literally homogeneous, which means all the same. If we are heterogeneous in any way, there's going to be racism.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen this, and
Well,
they have Saturday morning cartoons on this, where they have, for example, I just saw this on Avatar: Last Airbender. Right, I've seen the show I don't know how many times, but this one what comes to mind. There's an episode where you have two tribes, right, that absolutely hate each other. Right, they're not all different. One is like the prissy, like private school type tribe, and the other one is like the barbarian, like we're rugged kind of tribe, and they absolutely hate each other. But they hate each other because of one fact happens hundreds of years ago, like one of the guys beat up another guy or whatever like that, right? And so now these two groups of people hate each other. It's like, well, but why? Like they're more like each other than they're different, and for there's always going to be like that hate. There's always going to like they had, like I said, like they on a biology level they had more in common than they had different, and it's just culturally as long as there's many different cultures, as long as I can appropriate as a white cis male many other cultures.
Oh, so racist.
I was absolutely, I said that on purpose, but it's one of those things like if you have so many different areas that can create their own niche culture, there's always going to be some kind of racism or whatnot. Always.
Well, yeah, because racism is a subset of tribalism. It's just tribalism based on race, and or comes from that tribalism based on race, where you're gonna have someone's gonna see a difference in someone else, and they're gonna have an issue with it, or they're gonna think there's better. And it's like there's always gonna be those people, and then there's gonna be generally majority of the people are gonna learn to, get along. I mean,
and another perfect example: real world incident. The Hotel Rwanda movie, right? Of the massacre in Rwanda when they had the Tutsi, right? The Tutsis killing the other tribe. Yeah. Hey, guess what? All African, all from the same country, but they were just different tribes.
Yep.
And to be honest, again, this is me looking at it. I cannot tell the difference when they showed the Tutsi and the other tribe. It's like I would have watched. I can't identify that. Like, there's no racial color, the racial tone. There's no major change in facial features or anything like that.
Yeah, they're the same race. They're the same people. Well, it's essentially the same people.
Yeah.
And yeah, they killed each other over tribalism, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Anyway.
but
But this is where it all stems from. Like, because of all this other stuff makes sense or doesn't make sense, Star Wars story Solo doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Like, you're just trying to drive a wedge, man.
Why would you put things like there? And so with things like that, you can see a lot of Star Wars. Like you said, you are a big Star Wars fan, probably bigger. You're bigger than I am. You haven't seen it.
That's probably the only time you'll say that sentence.
Well, yeah. That's generally like what's gonna. But yeah, you didn't see it, and to be fair, there's a lot of people who were long-term Star Wars fans. Apparently, where decided just not to see the movie. They essentially boycotted the movie,
which also leads into our next topic.
So a lot of these problems we're having with the Star Wars universe seems to be pointed at Kathleen Kennedy, who is running LucasArts and producing these movies, and with this. With the backlash from, the negative backlash from The Last Jedi, plus Solo underperforming, and I think they said it's going to end up costing them something like
I think it was $80 million.
80 million.
Yep. That's yep, $80 million for the studio.
Yeah. So what it looks like here is
there's a flop.
it's a flop,
Yeah.
and she's.
I mean, it still made money from what it.
It's
did,
gonna
right?
make money.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But it's just probably losing what they expected to make on
Right.
it, right?
Well,
Because
what
Disney
happened?
doesn't flop.
They do. I mean, it's not going to be nothing to hurt Disney, but Disney has flopped before. The thing with this is, so, they project how much money this movie's going to make, so that lets them know how much they're going to inject in advertisement, toys, because they always roll out the whole package. When something Star Wars come around, when you already know you're going to have toys, costumes, mugs, a whole bunch of merchandising and stuff like that. So they got to invest all that money in that too, because they're thinking if the movie does well, people are going to buy the merchandise and generate more money that way.
Yep.
So since the movie is underperforming, generally that means
The sales will
be mediocre too, and they are not they're not going to recoup all that money that they put in or they were projected to have. I mean, they might break even. Sometimes they do even make a small profit, but based off what they expected to make, and plans for the future, a flop in a series like this is huge.
Especially when it's already like hugely established, right? I mean, like this is a mega movie franchise. Mega.
Yeah.
Mega.
Well, and you say that too. So this was also reported last week too. Was that the Last Jedi DVD and Blu-ray sales were like low.
Oh yeah, nobody cares
super
about it.
Super low, and some people try to say people still try to defend it like, oh, but what about the digital? It's like, well, it's not being sold a lot on iTunes or
yeah,
other
no,
platforms.
it's not.
And and that's another thing. Is like, yeah, even all the previous ones to that. So The Force Awakens, Rogue One, their DVD, Blu-ray, home video sales were pretty up there.
Yeah,
pretty up there.
Well, and again, I think that happened because, like I said earlier, Rogue One is almost a standalone. Almost, it relied on the other movies.
It's a side story.
It's a side story.
Yeah.
But again, it didn't have to. I mean, it had to fit the storyline, but it didn't have to fit, exactly. It just had to end a certain way.
Yeah, because there's you had different characters,
right?
Involved, but it just happening side.
But for the Force Awakens, I was willing to give that a lot of leeway. I was like, Force Awakens, okay, you're going to start off the new part of the trilogy. I'm expecting it to be like Lord of the Rings, where like you start on an adventure and then it just stops. Okay, well then I'll watch the second movie and that'll answer more questions or I'll progress the story. And it didn't really do that. It did not answer. It pushed the story a little bit further, but it didn't really answer. It had more faults than anything else in it, and that's kind of pissed me off. But
yeah,
and then now Solo is another kind of origin story for Han Solo, and just I don't really.
And now we know he dead. So
now you know he what?
Him dead.
Solo's him dead. Yeah. So now it's just like, well, where does he go from here? Well, he dies.
Well, he died. So and another thing. Now I will say another cool thing about the movie was actually Darth Maul is in it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was like just
Darth Maul is the shit. Like this.
How this is a way how to waste a great character.
Yeah. Not only that, but like Star Wars. Star Wars has excellent villains.
Yeah.
And if they leverage the villains more, I mean, besides Kylo Ren, I don't even know if Kylo Ren's even a villain anymore. Is he?
I don't know what this.
He's confused. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's confused. But Maul is not. That motherfucker's badass. He chops bitches up like nothing.
Yeah, and I always loved like the I read one of my they only did one book on him prequel novel which is called Shadowhunter.
Yeah,
and that was
good.
Very good. It was
I also liked him in the book Darth Pelagius book.
Oh,
yeah, because he was just a side character, but he had a major impact in it, and it was interesting to see kind of his origin story and how they brought him into it. Because you don't see that in episode 1. He just kind of comes up and and slices up Liam Neeson, and that's it. And then Ewan McGregor comes out and just
slices him in half.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a waste. I mean, he should have. They should have. I mean, I know they brought him back in the Clone Wars, and he's in Star Wars.
He was a pretty good figure in the animated series.
Well, yeah, but in the last one, the Star Wars Rebels, where they killed him for good this time, it was kind of weird seeing him because he came off like he was British. Now, granted, Ray Parks, the guy who plays him, is British, but
did Ray Parks voice him also?
No, he didn't voice him for the Star Wars Rebels, but it's like Ray Parks, at the few times Maul speaks, it's not
Maul.
It's not British. It's not a British accent. It's the character. But they went straight British sort of thing in this one.
It's interesting how in a galaxy far, far away, they still have dialects like that.
Yeah.
But
so, getting back to
Kathleen
Kennedy. Yeah, so, a lot of people are pointing to, how divisive the Last Jedi was and everything. So now it looks like she is on her way out.
Yeah. In September, they're projecting, right?
Yeah.
So according to express.co.uk, I'm just going to read a quick paragraph for you. So although industry pundits and some sites support the studio head, there has been an extraordinary backlash against the Star Wars franchise and specifically Kennedy herself since the divisive Last Jedi hit cinemas. The remarkably poor performance of Solo is being attributed in part to a massive ongoing fan boycott of Star Wars movies. Now, I kind of have a conundrum with this, right? Because either it's a Star Wars fan boycott, which I don't think we're even allowed to do that. I don't think it's in our genetics. Because we have to have it. We have to have Star Wars. We have to be able to enjoy it. Now, I've also read articles where they've blamed Avengers, Infinity War for Solo's poor performance.
Well, here's the thing, and I always when they use because of Avengers and Deadpool and that's what I said. First of all, that's a bullshit reason because we're fans of all three franchises. They're gonna go see the movie, right?
Yeah,
because there's a huge, I guarantee you, there's a huge overlap between comic book nerds and Star Wars nerds. Huge overlap.
Oh yeah. Well, it's all fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure the same people who were very interested, or not to say all of them, but a vast majority of the same people who are interested in the Avengers, Deadpool would also be interested in a new Star Wars movie. But the problem is Star Wars movie, this later, the last one, Jedi, was crap.
Yeah.
And there was not it sort of killed, like, so if the Last Jedi, I would say this, if the Last Jedi was good, a better movie, a much better movie, on akin to the level of Rogue One, I guarantee you more people would have been happy to see this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
my whole thing is like I hate seeing all the social justice warrior propaganda in it. I'm like, I get it. Like
you feel
like
that
Lando has to be pansexual for you to make your quota. Like I get it.
I know.
But but you can make really good stories with individuals. And you can have strong female characters. They can be whatever sex they want, or they can be whatever gender they want. Well, no, there's only two genders. But I mean, they can be any kind of sexual orientation they want. Like, okay, cool. Like, but it's once you start actually pushing it and it becomes blatant instead of just
when you make it
natural, it feels conforming.
Yeah. So it's like it's just frustrating. And like I said, it's not a terrible movie. It is not as bad as The Last Jedi, in my opinion. It's just it's not that bad.
For a side note, please go check out the DOG review on The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, that movie sucked. But it's not as bad as that. It's just if it was not a Star Wars, it did not have the Star Wars labeling on it, I probably would have liked it more. But because I expect more from Star Wars, it was like, this should have been so much better.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I'm just gonna bootleg it, or I'm just gonna like find a DVD rip or borrow it from a friend.
trust me,
Something. I
generally-
mean, I'll
generally
watch it, but I'm not. I don't. I'm not gonna. I don't feel invested into it.
yeah,
You know.
when these movies do this bad, they tank this bad, they'll probably be up pretty soon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, so again, like this kind of brings me to how Hollywood is disenfranchising a an entire demographic, right? Because I mean, like I'm a normal dude. And I was heavily invested in in everything Star Wars. Like I love it. I've seen everything. I'd say I've read the books, the audiobooks, the games. I know it, you know. And now it feels like since they're on such an agenda hike and they're just trying to push this kind of ideology, I'm just like, well, I don't really fit, and I can't really quote unquote identify as some of that, and so it feels like I'm getting marginalized, and it's like I'm not the minority in this. Like, you know, the vast majority of the people that enjoy these movies are normal people, normal dudes.
People.
I'm not saying that gay people or whoever else can't enjoy this, but they're normal too. And once you start kind of, I think once you start kind of catering to those tastes and doing that, it loses the normalcy of it, and it kind of puts them on a pedestal, and then people don't like that. Like, I want to be a normal dude. Like, my home life is my home life, but when I go to the movie, I want to see some regular stuff. Now, granted, if they want to push, you know, or they want to have gay, lesbian characters, go for it. You know, go for it, but make that part of the character. Don't make that part of the agenda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my problem with like movies nowadays. Anyway. Like as a whole, Star Wars is just jumping on that bandwagon.
Right. You're not having. They're trying to push a message instead of entertaining people, paying customers, and that's, you know, that's probably why they're gonna probably have some change in the guard. And we've seen this a lot with Disney and stuff like that. Like Marvel, comic wise, they were pushing this very hard, and their sales were tanking. So they're going back. You know, the whole pitch this summer is them to go back to, you know, putting the characters back in order. Bruce Banner is back as the Hulk.
Oh, yay, finally.
Finally, and you know, but I think they're going to keep the Amadeus Cho Gogurt Hulk going around. There is you know, Thor is back as the God of Thunder. He is Thor.
Instead of the girlfriend, right?
Yeah, instead of and that was just fucking ridiculous storyline just to begin with. But you know, Wolverine is back.
Yeah,
actual Logan is back, so we don't have a chick in it. So
who
was X-23.
Was it X-23 that
X-23 took over?
But see, okay, so my point of view on that, and again, I'm not really in depth on the comics piece of it, but we're gonna side note this real quick. So for X-23, like, so when I watched Logan, like, right, Old Man Logan, when I watched the movie, I could totally imagine the mantle of Wolverine. You know, granted, Wolverine is Logan. I could see X-23, the girl, becoming Wolverine, and then using that as her tag. Like it made sense.
Yeah,
you know, like it didn't feel foreign. It was just like, you know, like that's your paying homage to Logan kind of thing.
I would have been more happy with her as X-23. If it didn't become like, oh, we're the girls and we're so much better than the guys. Like they actually had this one series of comics like to try to, you know, to remind people how, you know, these old characters would approve of these new people too. So they had this one comic where the old Wolverine, you know, and them crossed over through some time loop and stuff like that, and Wolverine was sitting there like, oh my God, she's so much better than I am. She's so quick and graceful, and she'll do things. And I was like, really?
In a different dimension, maybe.
Never. First of all, that doesn't even sound like something Wolverine would say.
No, he doesn't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah, and it was like, you know, and all it was like, and they did this with several. Like they had, you know, the Amadeus Cho Hulk, you know, meet the Bruce Banner Hulk, you know, and all that, and each one of them were like, oh, see how much better these new guys are than us? And then people still weren't buying their shit. Now they're like, okay, we're going back now.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I get that they're trying to keep with the times and send a positive message or what they think is a positive message, but
I always look back at our, like, growing up in the afternoon specials and the stories they told and stuff like that. I said they were probably a little cringy for the time, but they were not this bad. Like these, and then the thing is when
but I mean, and again, I'm gonna try to take a partial view on this. Could your point of view on that just be skewed based on the current climate, what you've been through, what you've seen?
Well, yeah,
because if you take someone brand new off the streets, now and then could still be kind of the same, like the cringy level could still be equal instead of
the cringy level was like, so like when I talk about after school special, it was more like, hey, stand up to bullies.
Oh yeah,
you are worth something.
We have 2 episodes dedicated to that entirely.
Yeah. But that was one of the things, like, stand up to a bully. Nowadays, it's like, oh my God, don't bully because it's just
bullies are bad.
And, oh my God, and then I'm just gonna kill myself over Twitter and all this other bullshit. And it's like,
kill yourself over a Snapchat story. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
I guess.
All right.
One. I don't want to blame this on parenting. I don't know. Well, I don't want to blame all of it. I don't want to. I'm. Man, this is an episode full of segues and side notes, but as far as that goes, it is a parent's job to kind of help the kids identify what matters and what doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
You mean this post your supposed classmate or your schoolmate posted? How does that affect you? Well, it says that, I'm a loser, blah, blah, blah. It's like, and why do you care what they say? I feel like, parents as a whole need to kind of help get kids. And I know this is difficult. I know it is. I'm not saying that this is all you need to do and this fixes everything. But, there needs to be kind of 10 simple steps to make a perfect kid. And trust me, we're all fucked up. All kids are fucked up.
Number 1, beat them.
Choke them.
Number 2, beat them some more.
Till pain is expected.
Nah, so I don't really. I mean, like,
just,
yeah, but even now, like, I know people would take offense to that. You don't hit children, you bastard.
No, discipline them. Discipline them.
There's discipline and there's abuse, and there's nothing wrong with corporal punishment as a corrective measure. I'm not talking about like, torturing your kid and beating them to a pulp, but like
a spanking.
Spanking. Like we're fucking animals.
Yep.
We're primates, and primates do the same thing.
Yep.
Because a physical reaction to something, a physical, stimuli to helps you remember that that is bad.
That's bad. Yeah. This is so perfect example. Like when you have a baby, the baby or the child, we'll even say a toddler. The toddler has a very hard time expressing himself, right? And I say himself because it's gender neutral, right? I'm using that in that term. Please don't skew me in the comments, which we have zero of. But, they have a very hard time expressing themselves. So, really, what do they understand on an emotional and logical level? They understand that, okay, I acted in a certain way, and they know when it's bad, right? Don't go into the street. They go into the street. Well, fucking nothing happened, right? I'm going to ground you if you go into the street. They don't really understand what that means, right? Because a lot of times parents don't really fulfill the grounding. They don't follow through. But you know what you can't follow through on? Like within 30 seconds? Yep. A spanking. Don't go in the street. You went in the street, grab them, spank them. Don't do that. Well, now they have a consequence. And not to say that it has to hurt. Like you should not injure your child. Absolutely not.
You shouldn't.
But it's a reminder of the power hierarchy. Parents at the top, kids. Yeah. Kids below that. And
but once the kids are not your property.
Until the motherfucker's 18, they are.
Some childless son of a bitch will scream. Well, I actually said, children are not your property. I was like, really?
Because I'm paying for it.
I'm paying for them. And if I put it this way, if they get into trouble and you have to come get me to help to deal with it, they're mine.
Yeah.
All right? So shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Anyway, so let's get back on track.
We are way off topic.
We are way off topic. We are just going through it. That's the rub, man.
But anyway, because time is wrapping up, so I'm going to give a quick... So Solo sucks. The rum is good. Kathleen Kennedy is... I'm just jumping all around. So the rum is good. Solo sucks. Kathleen Kennedy will probably step down, I'm thinking, in September because of the articles that are getting pushed out.
Bye, bitch.
And now,
so to some sad news. So this week we lost one of my idols, probably one of my bigger idols, in Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Anthony Bourdain, for those who don't know, where the fuck have you been, is a world-renowned chef, traveler, critic, and just so much more.
So he became big, right? So his whole thing was he became big to the average person.
Yeah.
With I think No Reservations.
Well,
Or one of those shows.
First, it was his book. So he wrote a book, and it detailed as much, not just his cook, like it detailed him, in the world of culinary arts and everything like that. And it talked as much about his drug use at the time as it was being a chef,
which was exorbitant.
Yes, and if those who have never worked in a kitchen, working in a kitchen is a high stress environment. It is.
Oh
not
yeah,
for
just watch Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Like having the chef yell at you, like that's
Oh,
normal.
yeah.
That's a normal thing.
So I worked in a kitchen, and it was, I started with prepping. So usually that's what making sure is when you have everything set up for.
So you're prepping the workstations. You're making sure the tools are in the right places.
Right.
The ingredients are in the right places. They're all prepared.
Yeah,
they're chopped up. They're sliced.
The ingredients is the big part. So like you would sit there and you have to perfectly cut everything, and you have to everything weighted out and stuff like that. So when they get they get ready to fire a dish, that
it's
means
just throw everything in a.
You start throwing everything according to what chef taught you, because most people think like there's just one chef back there making everything. It's like no, it's usually a team of chefs.
One chef.
Well,
like
one
leader,
chef,
one leader, but a bunch of cooks.
So usually like the other chefs are, I want to say other chefs. They're not chef, but like they're usually chefs in training. They're apprentices, things of that nature. Or
there's sous. What's it called?
You have the
sous
sous
chef.
chef, yeah,
which
so
is like the number 2 guy.
Number two.
He's the first mate.
Yeah, pretty much. And there is a hierarchy, back there.
Which there should be, because hierarchy brings order.
Right.
And it does. When you have someone who's in charge and everybody has a role and everybody has a position to play, then that's when
keep everything in line.
Boom.
So
efficiency. Really, like seriously.
That's absolutely right. Working back there, pretty big madhouse, and so a lot of times, I've known several, people who used heavily, like cocaine was like very normal for them to use to keep up with the paces, and so he talked about that, and then he got the show No Reservations.
Yeah, I love that show.
Yeah,
like just traveling and meeting people and eating food, like regardless whether it was good or not. Like he went out and he I will say this, right, and I know, like, I'm just gonna talk about me for a second because it's all about me. Anthony Bourdain and No Reservations and all that, like watching him go to all these locations and try new things. The same thing with like Andrew Zimmerman, right, with Bizarre Foods. I'm not on that level yet, but getting out and talking to people outside of your social circle or outside of the norm, and just being able to embrace a culture that is not your own and enjoy it, and the kind of things he does. I like how he doesn't necessarily go to like the best restaurants or anything like that. Like no, they'll barbecue. Yeah. Or they'll barbecue on a dock like randomly, or like they'll go. There was one episode which like I really enjoyed where he was on a boat and he was just cooking for the crew and the cast. Yep. And I'm just like, that's some everyday type shit, and he's doing it, and I get to enjoy him doing that. Yep. And really, that is kind of like the behind the scenes, because I like watching the behind the scenes of the making of kind of things, because when everything's scripted and it's like this is what they want you to see, like it seems sometimes fake. I never really got that with the No Reservations. I felt like I was watching Anthony Bourdain. He didn't change his personality.
No, he was Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah. Like he was an asshole, absolutely. Like he was a nice guy, but he said what was on his mind.
Yep.
And I felt that if I met him, that's exactly what I would get.
So this is why this is also sadder for me, because I actually got many opportunities to talk with, well, not him directly, but mainly through the internet. But I did meet his ex-wife, which helped spark this too. She's an avid. At the time, she was really, really avid, chomping at the bit and doing jiu-jitsu. and sorry,
Oh shit!
yeah,
Jiu-jitsu motherfuckers. I'm sorry, I
And-
just had to throw that in there. Sorry.
and you know, she was really heavy into that, and it could be like I think she does like full MMA now, like
Oh, really?
full on like she fights now, but
That's unexpected. I did not.
yeah, but she was.
I was
I
not
mean,
expecting to hear that.
she was, you know, that's usually a natural evolution of most jiu-jitsu guys. At some point, they're gonna go and cross over into MMA. But yeah, so you know, got to meet her, and you know, she got me in touch with him, and you know, started talking jiu-jitsu. He started doing jiu-jitsu. Matter of fact, what did he won? He won, I think, was it the New York Open or something? The IBJJF New York Open. He won his category at Senior 5. Like
Which means old blue belts.
old, but he apparently won that one. I don't know how many people he fought, but I had talked with him back and forth, and was definitely was trying to coordinate some time when he had time, if he could, to come to Lisbon, and you know, either compete or watch the
IBJJFs.
the IBJJF European Championship. And
That would be
that would
cool.
have been like the
Because I've heard
dream.
some of your awesome stories about Portugal,
Oh yeah,
and I want to go on that. And then you add Anthony Bourdain
and
to
then
that.
he would.
That would have been.
Yeah,
That'd have been
it
awesome.
would have been awesome. And I
That
mean,
would have been an awesome episode for No Reservations or whatnot.
exactly
Right? Because that would have put his cultural foodie and jiu-jitsu life all in one.
Well, he actually did. He did actually in Parts Unknown. He actually went to Brazil and was doing jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah, so there's an episode of that where he does jiu-jitsu down in Brazil. And I was like, man, that's so cool. But that's one of the reasons why this guy was my idol. Now, granted, I've been doing like the jiu-jitsu thing before him, and I actually was a traveler before he was. I always tell him, like, man, I've been traveling, you know, all my life. Literally, I have. But you know, but he was idle because it was like, yeah, there's this guy, he's out there, he's living life. Like if you had told me like, well, what's living life like? And it's like, well, look at Anthony Bourdain. He's a guy, he's going there, he's meeting new people, he's seeing the world, and you know, absorbing this. So
yeah, I could use him as a good example.
yeah, so that's why it really hurts to find out that he killed himself, and we really don't know the motivation here.
So, real quick, all I heard was it was a suicide.
Yeah, it was
now,
a suicide.
One, I can like suicide. That's always a really tough.
It's very tough.
Thing to intake and to explain and things like that. But
Yeah,
have you read anything about how he did it?
He hung himself.
He hung himself.
He hung himself. And the thing with it is, so he was actually in. He wasn't. And that's another thing. He wasn't far from here.
Really? Where was he?
He wasn't far. He was just out. He was around Strasbourg.
Seriously?
Yes. So he was in France.
That's like what? 2 hours away?
No, it's like 2 hours away. Actually, less. Where he was at, I think it's like less.
Here.
So he was there to do the shoot Strasbourg for Parts Unknown. He was staying outside. He wasn't staying in Strasbourg, but he was staying a little bit outside of Strasbourg. And
but
so,
still though, like that's
he was that
like
close, like
ridiculously close.
Yeah, it was that close. Like literally, like if I would have known he was there, I would have probably driven down there.
Yeah, I would have just wanted to stake out one of the restaurants he was going to go to or something.
And so that's another like
Yeah.
Not only did he do that, and it's like he was so close. I could have met him face to face. You know, one of the things I really wanted to do in this world. Because I really like the guy, and one of my idols.
He seems so genuine.
He did,
like,
and even with his pain, that was another thing.
Yeah.
Even with his pain, he was genuine. Like he was very open about his ups and downs and stuff like that, and what drove him, to because he was a unapologetic drinker, and smoker. Well, he quit smoking.
But he didn't do it for the viewers.
No, he did it for his daughter. Like
right,
his daughter was like, "Oh, you shouldn't smoke that anymore," or something. So he did it. He quit smoking, but he was still a very avid drinker. Like that's one of the things I love about the show. Like he got drunk on that show.
Oh yeah,
he got
so genuine.
Genuine.
This is what I would expect because when I go places, I like to enjoy.
Yeah,
you go and you have Greece, you have the ouzo. Jamaica, you have the rum.
Yep.
Scotland, you have the whiskey. Italy, you have the wine.
Yeah.
In Spain you have the sangria, and that's what he would do. And he would try the I don't know. It was just such a genuine. It was when you were watching his show. Uh, I would say that it's not scripted at all. It's
No.
mostly him just watching him interact with people and enjoying the locale. But
Yeah.
it was so genuine. Like I didn't see a persona. I saw Anthony Bourdain.
Exactly.
You know,
And then it was
and that's what made him so fun to watch. Is because you actually saw like a genuine person with all his flaws
yeah.
and all his missteps, and like that's what made it enjoyable to watch. And I'm gonna miss that.
I'm definitely gonna miss that, and definitely gonna miss him too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of speculations about why he did it, but right now no one knows. And the theories are coming out now, and as
Man,
around every celebrity death, there's always talking. Like one I was listening today where I don't know if it was true, but he said that his girlfriend was cheating on him because there was pictures of her walking around like a day or two holding hands with this other dude.
at that point, man, just cut ties.
Yeah.
Just cut.
I don't
ties,
know if that's
man.
some
I mean,
motivation. He could have been battling. The problem with when you see these celebrities on TV, another thing is you've seen them in TV, and even as genuine as Bourdain was, you don't see his everyday life. So
Right.
he could be going through something
Yeah.
that no one was paying attention to. But like a
Mhm.
lot of suicides, they come out of the blue because a lot of people, when they do decide that they're going to take this step, they act better, right?
They try to get their house in order.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of one of the things. One of the warning signs of suicide
Yeah.
is they start cleaning up. They start giving away their property
Property.
because they don't want to be a burden. Because one of the things I've read and I've heard is that people that many people that commit suicide felt like they were a burden on the people around them.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that's how they felt. They may not have been, but that's
Right.
how they felt. And so they wanted to relieve a lot of that burden for when they left. So they would get rid of all their stuff. They would do a will. They would do. They would make it as easy as possible for when they left that people would just move on without them.
Yeah.
And that is not the case. Like that is really never the case. I mean, of course, life goes on. Like
Life
people that
has to.
survive will push through, but
you still carry.
yeah, you still carry a bit of that. And I've had a few coworkers and friends through my lifetime commit suicide, and it's one of those things where you're like, I mean, for us, we're never really in one place for too long.
Yeah.
But when you hear about it, you're like, holy crap, man. I mean, damn. Like I wish I could have done something for him, or I wish I was there, or wish I would have known. And
you always,
but you have an ocean between you, quite literally, and it's it's really really difficult to talk about, and kind of really even more difficult to kind of enunciate and describe and explain how that person, regardless of how much involved they were in your life, how it feels for them to be gone by suicide.
Yeah. And that's the thing,
that's,
when you hear that by suicide, and you're like, God, like if it would have been like an aneurysm or
an accident,
a heart attack or accident, I think people feel a lot better because they're like, okay, well, it's a tragedy. But and it's a tragedy when it's suicide. But when it's suicide, you're like,
is there something I could have done to help that?
Could I have done something to do that, or and it just, again, you're playing the what ifs, the what ifs. What if I'd have said a little, or what if I would have stayed around a little bit more, or what if I would have said hi a little bit more, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's like you're gone, and then and that's when you know someone. But when you're like a fan, like I am of this, of Bourdain, it's like it's really hard because I did idolize this guy a lot, and it's like, man, I thought this guy. Yes, he had it ups and downs and stuff like that, but he was getting it together. Now, granted, I'm going to say this. If you ever hear about me dying of suicide, it is a lie. I'm not going to do it.
Oh.
Not going to do it. I'm never going to do it. But it's like, so for me, they always say, oh, everyone's had suicidal thoughts. I was like, I've never had. I'm too.
I mean, I've thought about, like, how would things be if I died?
Yeah,
I've had those, like if I committed suicide,
Yeah,
like
I've had
if
those.
I wasn't here, like if I got in a car accident on the way to work tomorrow, like how would things pan out? Is my family prepared for that kind of event?
Yeah, I was thinking,
You know?
and when I went to getting deployed, always thought about that, like what will happen if I don't come home and stuff like that. But it wouldn't be because I took myself out of the game, and so
Nope, you got to push through that shit, son.
yeah, and with that, when I look at this and I hear about people that this happened to, or that went through this, and it's like I'm thinking like, why are you doing, like there's so many avenues you can take to deal with this. Like, how do you get to the point where you're like, I'm out, I'm checking out? It's like I can't comprehend that, so it's very hard to really accept that, and it hurts because you're just sitting there, just you can't understand the person. They're not there to longer speak for what they're going through.
Yeah,
and it's like it's just such a mixed emotional thing. So
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It seems like when someone is really genuine the way Anthony Bourdain was, and he kind of sucks you into his life to where it's like the Truman Show, right? Like everyone becomes invested into what happens. You're like, oh, I want to see how this guy progresses. I want to see what else he does next. I want to see this. I want to see this. And I'm sure that we're not the only people that wish that we could have done something or helped alleviate that kind of pain or something like that. Because you hear stories about even the smallest acts divert someone off that path. And I don't know, man. It's tough. I mean, obviously, suicide is a horrible thing, not just for the person involved, but for everyone around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult to talk about because obviously there's no survivors from suicide to interview.
Yeah,
it's only attempted suicide. But I mean, even when you talk to the people that attempted suicide, it's a lot of it. I think there was interviews from people that jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge that they survive, and then they say that they realized halfway down or as soon as they jumped that their problems were actually insignificant.
Yeah.
And and it's funny that's at that moment you have that epiphany.
Like, yeah.
It's because, and again, this is biology that happens is the will to survive trumps everything.
Yeah.
Like once you're put in that fight or flight situation, because you could be on the edge of the bridge. You're not really in that situation until you're falling.
And then it's like, oh,
and
yeah, well,
and then that's when and again, like I'm not gonna say this, but in Hollywood, when you see someone hang themselves, right, like they're grasping at the rope or something around their neck or whatever like that. Like that's because they realize that they don't really want to die.
Yeah.
But leading up into that, it seems like the only way out, and it's never the only way out. It may be shitty for a while or something like that, but life goes on for everyone, including the people that want to commit suicide. If they are in the mental state that they cannot go on, that's tragic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
It's again. I think it's just a good low note to wrap this up.
Yeah, low note to wrap up this. So with that said, rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain. I am definitely gonna miss you. I thought he was a hell of a guy.
I really wish I could have had some of his cooking.
A
dish made by Anthony Bourdain.
Like I said, a lot of things that he impacted me. Like if I found out he went somewhere that I'm going or I've been, I hit up those places. I hit up all the same places, and like I'll sit there and be like, hey, no reservations brought me here. Parts unknown brought me here. The layover part brought me here. Like because I'll go to several places and they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like, hey, I saw you guys on layover. And then they're like, oh yeah, they'll be happy to talk to you and stuff like that. So it was great. So we're really going to miss that.
Really, really going to miss that. And again, he helped bring me out of my shell because I used to not even like basic, lived in Korea for a while. Didn't even like kimchi. That's like the national food. Now I love kimchi. But things like this, seeing that it's okay. You can try new things and you'll survive. If you don't like it, order a cheeseburger. Everyone's got cheeseburgers. Or a pizza or pasta or donut or something.
Take the chance. Go out there, try something, experience something new, learn something new.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what I took from him. So I'm going to continue that on.
And no matter how high level the guy is, he's just a dude. He's just a dude.
We're all meat.
Anyway, it was great talking to you guys. Leave us a comment. We'll see you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Dose of Vince Gentlemen podcast. We want to hear what you got to say, so leave us a comment below and hit that like button. Also, subscribe so you can get your future DOG updates.